Today I thought I'd do a little show and tell and just go over some of the highlights and some of the adventures that we did have on our trip. Because the ultimate thing, you can only get so many paintings done. I think I did 30 days outdoors, some good, some very good and some not so good, but it's always a part of research development. We don't always get the perfect weather, and that's the tricky part. It might be overcast, or we could start off with a great day with a fantastic forecast, but it can turn and then we end up with a different painting, different idea. So let's start off at Spinia. So I did a small little guy, just to sort of warm up. I've always loved the doorway scenes, and when I was there, you're literally walking into, out of, past so many doorway scenes, and they always come up really great as a subject. And I wanted to concentrate on things that you might walk past, you may even not even notice that it's a paintable scene. So this was a fun one to do. Actually, a few of the students did actually paint this on site, and I thought to myself, the morning when we arrived, I thought, geez, there's a little scene there that I wonder if anyone's going to pick out. And yeah, 2 students did, which I thought was great. And then we went on to another stop where coastal scenes, boats, beaches, and this was one of the most challenging boat scenes I think I've painted. So, and that's another great lesson, is there's certain scenes that you're going to see and think, oh man, that's a great painting, but I don't think I've got time. This one took me 4.5 hours and it's only a 9x12. So that's the danger, the difficulty when it comes to expanding on an idea and just trying to fulfill that idea. Sometimes they just take more time, and that's why a lot of times I'll only just do the one boat or the main focal boat and leave the rest out and think, you know what, if I can get that much information down, then I've got some success there. This one, I couldn't have painted this one from the site because it's a drone shot, one of my favourite sort of ways to work these days. Most places we're able to get the drone up. Not every day, not every scene warranted it, but I think this one was really one of those special ones that I felt just that aerial perspective just brought it to life with the boats. And I did cut out 3/4 of the boats. They were lined up 8 deep with about 4 or 5 rows. And it just shows, even though they're there, we don't need to do them. That was quite a challenge, and sometimes you can want to paint a painting that desperately that you can actually overwork it. And I possibly did get a little, not over ambitious, but I kind of put a little too much pressure on myself with this one. So this one might want and need a little bit of reworking. And that's the sort of thing. A lot of the plein air paintings I will rework. I will, some I'll just leave alone, and I've got a really great one to finish on. But this one is just out of Avignon. There's so many great places to paint there, even Avignon itself. But this is one of the gems from Avignon. But our day trips, St. Remy, and I may be butchering this, but Bonneuil or Bonneau, I'm not sure. You get it right on the day when you're there and then when you come back. And this was actually a scene as we were leaving. So it was one of those little pickups that you kind of think your day's done. A big storm was rolling in, and this was kind of just before the storm came. And I love the motif. The vineyard scenes are fairly tricky, especially when we're looking straight down the barrel of the rose. That can be just a little too definite, a little too strong of directional lines. So that's why the trick is to soften it as soon as you can, soften those edges, soften the brushwork, try and lose shadow. This one was from the town that we spent the day painting, and we did get a little rained out, unfortunately, on that day. But that's where the reference material, being able to have that smartphone in your pocket, in your bag, on your body, somewhere close, that as you're walking, you might see the light and think, oh boy, that's one that, you know what, don't have time today. But this was with the storm clouds brewing, and it was such a day of fluctuation, but day of great drama. So I think that was a really fun one to sort of pull out of the fire just before the rain, just to be able to get that one in camera as well. So we have St. Remy. It is St. Paul de Massol, I believe, is the asylum where Van Gogh, and was there 28 years ago and always wanted to go back. I found I got 4 or 5 really great drawings, 5 or 6 good paintings. We didn't quite get that full-blown sun all day, every day. There were some little glimmers where I thankfully was in the right place at the right time, and that really did energise the day for me. It was a fairly cool day in general, and the funny thing was we were able to go up, as most tourists are, to have a look at Van Gogh's bedroom, and there was a young couple in there, and I thought, I'll just let them have their moment. It's only a small room. So I walked past. Then when I came back in for my little moment, I didn't know there was an elderly gentleman standing behind the door, and I almost jumped out of my boots. I think he scared the daylights out of me and I scared the daylights out of him. Thankfully, there was no emergency call needed on that day, but that's probably my one little takeaway from the physicality. But this was that studio piece that I did do a little low light painting on site, and I was really thrilled with it because it forced me to really work on those subtle close values where this is bang, that big contrast, sharp edges on the shadows. So St. Jean de Col, another great little spot. Doon, I'd never been to Doon. I'd always known of the area, known of the place, but didn't really have much background knowledge. So this was another day that we had to paint and stay out of the rising floodwater from a local creek. And then in that moment after, in that 20 minutes before we had to get into the vehicles and head back to our base, there was another great little pickup. I find when I'm out and about, it can be my home city, anywhere in the world, it's almost like the subject matter is the rough diamond. And then when I come back into the studio, that's when I'll put all the polish on it, all those facets. And even though that one was a little saturated in the yellows, and that was kind of one of the takeaways. A lot of the buildings in Italy and France are the creams, the off-whites, the whites, the sandstone. And that was something that I think with that one, maybe just a little too much of the sandstone colour. Another little one from the Doon region. It's a very complex scene, but really pleasing. And I think it was more for the cast shadow, but also I do love testing myself with greens and also trying to abstract shapes as well. The background area up here, I was really trying to put as little as possible, but still have it read well. So that was super important for me, and that was really good fun to paint. And with the castle and with that stay, I was scouting about, looking for as many different angles as possible. And the interesting thing was, Adriana, Miles Copeland III's wife, she had a car parked right in the way. And I was a little nervous to go and ask, but I thought, this scene is just not going to be authentic or the scene that I want to paint. So she was more than happy to move it, but she said, oh, why don't you move it? So we jumped in the car, moved it, and that was the image that I got. This was one of the early paintings that I did on the return. And I think sometimes just sorting through the subjects as well, not really going for the difficult or the easiest, but just ones that you want to do, and maybe definitely saving the really difficult ones for later. And a lot of these are study sizes as well. So I will do bigger paintings at some stage from these ones. And this was a classic example of our trip. I started getting some beautiful shapes in the sky, but it was meant to be a much sunnier day. So the subject changed on me and I did get caught out. I was a little annoyed that I didn't pivot well. I didn't really adjust and adapt to the day as well as I would have liked. But that was where that baby was the study for the studio piece. So that was one that, even though when I look back at that, that was going to be a really great little painting. But I felt sometimes the momentum can disappear from you, or when it changes, the light just dropped, and when it changes so much, you've got such a different painting, and you're having to then try and remember what was there. And even though we're wanting to work fast, needing to get those tonal contrasts down. It's happened to me a couple of times over the years where shadows moved a lot faster or the lights changed. Sometimes even if the lights come out and it's been an overcast day and I've wanted that low light scene, that's another semi-disaster. But that was more the painting that I was aiming for, even though this is a different time of the day, but it's the same subject, just from a different lighting. So try not to be too hard on yourself when it comes to painting outside. It's a different beast. The wind can play up. For me, that's one of my pet hates. It can be quite hot to freezing cold. There's ways around that, but for me, there's only so much you can do. Especially if you're out literally in the field, like some of those last ones. If we had a really windy day there, we would have really struggled, because painting's hard enough as it is. And that's where we don't want things to develop and make it harder for ourselves. We're always trying to find best thing we can find and try and do it justice. That's the ultimate thing for a painter. So hope you've enjoyed this little chat. You've got to be mentally tough. You've got to really knuckle down and be prepared for a battle and a fight. It's a bit like we're going into war, so we need all the ammunition, all the backup, all the knowledge, all the confidence, all the ideas that we can bring to that moment and then let them loose. So thanks for watching. All the best. Bye for now.